Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
All right, here we go.
Presented by Kindred Digital, Toy Production Services, and Big Buck Country 101.5.
All right, I'm listening.
Each show, we'll sit down and go one-on-one with the country music legends. And from time to time, we'll introduce you to the future legends as well. Pour your favorite drink and sit back and enjoy your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
All right, I think all the levels are set.
Go.
let's go.
Here's your host, Jason Toy.
Hey everybody, Jason Toy here with you with another edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. Wherever you're listening to us, not only across the country, but around the world, we thank you for checking in with us. Don't forget to share us and tell folks all about it, where we sit down and talk one-on-one with the legends of country music. Today, something a little special for you, because today we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the iconic hit, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. David Frizzell, Shelly West took it to the top of the charts, and it really kind of catapulted things into stardom for him all across the country and around the globe. This is a song that Clint Eastwood utilized in one of his movies, and Every Which Way But Loose, and it's just one of those great iconic songs that we still enjoy to this day. We're going to sit down and talk with David Frizzell coming up in just a bit about not only the 40th anniversary of the song, the new remake of the song, but also to his career and the influence of his older brother Lefty Frizzell, how the Hall of Famer kind of helped David get to where he is in country music today, and the long legacy that he has in country music. On the back end, you're going to be hearing an interview that we did sitting down with Mary Sarah. She is the young lady that joins David Frizzell on the anniversary edition of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. She's an Oklahoma native. You might remember her from her rise to fame on The Voice, made it up in the top 5, but she stays true to her classic country roots of the music that she loves and does a great job with David Frizzell on the 40th anniversary of this song. And there's a great story on how they got together to come up with this anniversary song. So sit back, relax, enjoy our conversations with David Frizzell, also Mary Sarah, all on today's edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast with Big Buck Country 101.5. Joining us now is the great David Frizzell. David, how are you, sir?
Well, I appreciate you saying the great David Frizzell.
You're a great guy. You're a fantastic guy.
Thank you,
and to
man.
let
Thank
folks
you,
know, let folks know on this, when we did this recording originally, we had a technical issue, but David's been gracious enough to come back with us. That's an awesome deal.
Well, man, we'll talk about it some more. That's how we do it. Sounds great to me.
Let's talk about the career for you and where you were at right now and everything. Obviously, we're going to talk about the 40th anniversary of the duet with the Oklahoma. I think God Made Oklahoma with Shelly West. But let's talk about you and, of course, growing up with Lefty as well, and to get you to the point to where you are today. I tell you what, it's been a big run for you.
Well, it certainly has. I tell you what, from the time I was old enough to walk from here to there and say a word of any kind, I was singing a Lefty song probably. And I remember all the way back, God, some of those things we did back when we was young. I think I was 8 or 9, 10 years old, and I had a radio show somehow or other. I was invited to come and do some radio in Texas, and man, I was singing Love You a Thousand Ways. That was one of Lefty's big first #1 records, and big old records. And so I've been singing Lefty Frizzell even now. I still sing Lefty Frizzell. I get out there. And now there's still people wanting to hear those great songs. But boy, there's some really good songs that Lefty was able to write, especially those early days. And then when I was turned 16 years old, actually, I started working with him on a permanent basis. I was opening the shows for him. I was doing all the driving to get us there, And I'd get up and I'd open the shows and I'd do 2 or 3 songs and I'd bring Lefty out and then I'd step back out of the way. I'd play some guitar with him and I'd do some of the harmony work with him. And it was just he just taught me everything, give me all the reasons for wanting to do everything I've done from then all the way to now.
What was the age difference between you two?
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, there was only about 13 and a half, maybe 14 years difference between us.
Wow.
Yeah. So he took me out there with him and gave me the opportunity to get on that stage and sing and play and learn how to entertain, and be a part of the shows. And guys, there was a time back in between 1956 and 1960 when I was out there running around with him, when during the touring season, they would do package shows. On almost every Sunday, there'd be a package show someplace, and Lefty was invited to every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if Lefty went, David went, and those days, on those package shows, we might work on a Friday and Saturday someplace in Texas, Oklahoma, just wherever, California, just what. And but almost every Sunday there'd be a package show someplace. So Dallas, Texas, or Oklahoma City, or Chicago, wherever. And on those shows, all the greats were out there during that time. There was Johnny Cash, there was June Carter, Carl Smith, Grandpa Jones, if you remember the name.
Oh yeah.
Little Jimmy Dickens was a part of that. Loretta Lynn, and with George Jones, all those people. I got a chance not only to see them do their shows and listen to them do their shows, but I got a chance to hang out with them in the dressing rooms. I got a chance to travel on the road with them. I got a chance to learn from everybody. And boy, I was soaking it up too. I remember Lefty talking to me one time. He said, this is after we came back. We all lived in California at that time. And we were at home at his house there just out of L.A., California.
Mm-hmm.
And one morning about 10 o'clock, I'm sitting in the den. I'm sitting there playing guitar, and I'm humming a song or writing something. And about 10 o'clock one morning, and he walked by on the way to the kitchen, and he stopped. And I realized that he was standing there, so I looked up at him. He said, David, he said, let me stay, buddy. He said, we're out there playing with all these different people, Johnny Cash, all these different people. He says, and you're listening to them, you're watching them. He says, learn everything you can, buddy. Learn everything you can from all these great people. He said, but just remember one thing. At the end of the day, we need a David Frizzell.
Yeah.
We need a David. We didn't need another Johnny Cash. He said, Johnny's holding that down pretty good. He said, and we don't need another Lefty Frizzell. He said, matter of fact, I'm having trouble with him myself. He said, and he said, we need a David Frizzell. And he would tell me that almost every day I can remember. And he'd say, well, remember now, we got to have a David Frizzell there. So somewhere along that time, when I was about 18, 19 years old, I signed with Columbia Records. And when I was asked to sing, all of a sudden there was David Frizzell. Isn't that amazing?
That's
how
awesome.
That worked?
He wanted you to be. He wanted you to be your own self. He wanted to.
Yeah.
You talked about the influence he had on you, and you go back and look at the history of things. The influence that Lefty had on so many other big name artists as well to get them to where they are. It's just that kind of an inspiration a little bit.
He really was. If you listen to him sing a song, believe me, that would be the way to do it. If you ever heard him sing, and I was with him when he got the song Long Black Veil. Yeah. I was here in Nashville with him. I was actually with him when he got the song. I listened to it for the first time. I was with him in the studio when he recorded that song. And I guarantee you, when you hear him sing that song, buddy, that's the way you'd like to sing it yourself, Wow. He was just and I realized, I thought maybe because I was right with him all those years, and I was with him, and I didn't realize so many people was learning from him. But now I found out that Merle Haggard learned a lot from Lefty too, mm-hmm. And I found out that Randy Travis learned a whole lot from Lefty, So I've learned all these other people that has learned a lot from the great Lefty Frizzell, and man, there's nobody better in the world to learn from. He was it.
David Frizzell is hanging out with us here a little bit. We'll talk about the 40th anniversary for his hit single with Dottie West, with Shelly West. Yeah, with Shelly. I was about to say Dottie, but with Shelly West here in just a bit. But we're talking about Lefty a little bit, and I know you're pretty proud of the fact that you got an opportunity to kind of showcase his life and your life as well, because you're a part of it too. On film as a possibility because of an biography that you've written about your brother. Yeah. And the thing about it, and I know you and I talked about this before, as a matter of fact, when I saw you in Nashville, about the fact that in this book, it was kind of hard for you, I guess, a little bit, because you wanted to put everything in there and you were hesitant on it, but you had to give the true portrayal of the hard life that Lefty had.
I really did. I had to write it the way it really happened. I was not going to make things up, or I wanted it to be real. Yeah. I wanted that to be, and if we do a film coming up, I'm really hoping that we can do it justice. And when you walk in and see the movie, you walk out, you know who Lefty. Well, that was Lefty Frizzell. That story was Lefty, but you see the real thing. So when I was writing it, I wanted to write it that way, and so I did. And I started writing it in about 81 or 2, 3, somewhere like that. I came to Nashville in '81 with the song "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma." It was number one when I drove into Nashville.
Wow.
And I had told Lefty back earlier than that. I told him, I said, the only way to come to Nashville, Tennessee is with a hit record. If you got a hit song, people are going to invite you on in. They're going to open the door for you. They're going to listen to you when you talk. Anyway, so I did. I waited. That song went number one, and I drove in. I actually pulled off the road, and I got out, and I looked up up to the heaven. I looked up to the sky, and I said, I'm a man of my word, buddy. So anyway, but I learned everything from him, but I realized a lot of other people did too.
Did he, and he died, he passed away at a really young age. He was only, 47, but he
47.
he was really had a hard, a lot of demons he was battling, let's put it that way.
Well, he kind of did, and
Yeah.
a lot of those were self-imposed, and he had a rough time. He had this, when I was writing the book, and I actually did I actually read the book on the CD.
Okay,
I had the whole book. I read it, and it's all on CDs that out there now. But when I did that, the hardest thing I ever did was to do that. When I actually got in and had to read the book, my goodness gracious! Toward the end of it, I was it's when we lost Lefty, the last two chapters, and I couldn't keep from crying. The tears just falling out on me. And I'm trying to sing and talk about it, talk about it right. It took me a little while to get those last two verses, those last two chapters down.
Wow.
But Lefty really did have a tough life, but he had a great life to go along with it. Being around Lefty was actually like being at a party. He was amazing just to be, even if it was just you and him.
Yeah.
He was an amazing man. He had these little things that he did. If he was talking to you, he had to touch you. He had to hit you on the arm, or he'd hit, He kept your attention for everything he said by pecking on you, Pardon me. But he was an amazing man.
Well, let me talk about you a little bit. And I know you were out on the road with your brother, and then you took some time because you went to the military. So what was military life like for you?
Well, actually, they let me play and sing in there.
Really?
I would almost every Friday and Saturday night I was doing a show someplace, and I went to boot camp down out of San Antonio, Texas. I went to boot camp, and then from there I went up to Tacoma, Washington. I was stationed at McCord Air Force Base.
So you're an Air Force guy if you went to San Antonio, yeah.
San Antonio, went there, and then I went up to McCord Air Force Base, and I was there for 2 years. And then they sent me down to Northern California to a radar site. But and then I was there for the next 2 years. So I was in there 4 years.
Wow.
So I was working with Lefty right up until the time I went in the service. And then when I got out in 64, 65, I went back to work with him again. Oh, wow. And he had a song called Saginaw, Michigan in 64,
yeah.
which is amazing, amazing song, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I went back to work with him, and he let me play that part. I play I play his intro on the guitar. He let me play it every time,
That's awesome indeed.
Oh God, just to work with him was an amazing thing. But he gave me the opportunity to do it and to learn. And I learned everything from him, buddy. I was a great student.
And
he was a great teacher, but I was a good student.
And it sounded like he was your hero too, or one of your heroes.
My hero too.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize it, really to tell you the truth, until Merle Haggard became such a friend of mine, that he was just influenced by Lefty as much as I was.
Yeah.
And he just, he loved Lefty, and so did I. I remember one time we was at home, and I was at home visiting Mom. In Tipton, California, where the family lived at that time, and Lefty was there too. So me and Lefty was there at the same time, and Merle Haggard called the number, and so Lefty got on the phone with Merle Haggard. So I got on the extension. I wanted to hear this, right? so Merle said, Lefty said, I want to play you something. Would you like to hear something? Lefty said, well, sure. And Merle said, well, I just went down to Dallas and I recorded this song, and I want you to hear it right now. And it was a song that Lefty wrote called I Want to Be With You Always. Oh. And so Merle sang it and played it, and after it played, Lefty listened, was real quiet the phone was silent there from a beat or two, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Lefty finally said, Merle, I don't know why you went to all that trouble. I could have just gave you one of mine. It sounded just like Lefty Frizzell. Oh man!
Well, hey,
but Merle had him down.
David, let's talk a little bit about a little bit more on your career, and of course, before we talk about You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, I got to ask you about number one hit for you. I'm going to hire me a wino to decorate our home.
Oh man! Well, we had already had the Oklahoma song at that time.
Yeah.
And we'd had a few other things in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was riding on my bus. It was going from date to date. We were doing a lot of dates right after that with that song being so big.
Mm-hmm.
The Oklahoma song was so big that it took two people, me and Shelly West, two people nobody knew, and made us household names around the world.
Yeah.
It took the song was so big, so huge, that it took two people that nobody knew and put them on the world stage. We worked all over the world. I did tours of Germany, Holland, England, all kinds of different places. Anyway, her and I was singing that song all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was riding down the road, and Snuff Garrett, who was our producer out in California,
mm-hmm.
had sent me some new songs. So I'm going down the road, sitting on the seat there, going down the road, and I'm watching the highway, but I'm listening to new songs. And I heard going to hire a wino decorator home. I couldn't believe it. And a fellow named Dwayne Blackwell had written the song and actually recorded it. And he was actually looking for a record deal. His song was so good, it was a master. Anyway, they sent it to me. Snuff Garrett sent it to me. And I listened to it. I couldn't believe it. I thought, I called Snuff back. I said, I think you found another one here, buddy. Save that song for me, and I'll be right out there. So he did save the song for me, and I went out. And we recorded that song. I knew it was a number one song. It was just too well written, and we did it pretty well too.
You knocked it out of the park. You knocked it out of the park with that
buddy.
one. You talked about Snuff Garrett there a little bit, and going back a little bit on the You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, and like you said, that song put you and Shelly on the map everywhere across the world, and it's a great history behind this song. Tell folks about it.
Well, I tell you what, I had found out who Snuff Garrett was. And I was working with the Buck Owens organization out of Bakersfield that time. Snuff is down in L.A., and he's doing soundtracks for the great Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds and those kind of movies. Those movies doing the soundtracks for these. And I found him, and I sent him a tape that I made at Buck Owens Studio with my brother Alan, actually playing guitar, and Shelly West was there. And I thought, this one song sounded like it could be a duet, actually. I just, so I put Shelly West on it, and I sent that down to Snuff Garrett. So Snuff got it, and he called me back, and he said, David, man, he said, you didn't send me any pictures. He said, take some pictures and send them to me, and if you look anything like you sound, I'm going to make you and Shelly West, he said. I'm going to make you and Shelly West the next Sonny and Cher of country music, he said. So we went down, and we cut it off. He finally played that song, Oklahoma, for the great Clint Eastwood. They're riding back from an art show in Palm Springs, and they're coming back to Nashville, coming back to L.A. And he said, we're going down the road, he said, and we're traveling about 70 miles an hour. I knew Clint was not going to jump. He said, so he said, I played him, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. They listened to the song all the way through, and then when it ended, Clint Eastwood looked over at Snuff. He said, man, that's a pistol. He said, let's put that in my next movie. So they did. They put it in Any Which Way You Can. And they liked it so much, they put it in two different places in the movie. And if you ever watch that movie and you walk out of that movie, you're humming that song.
Oh, yeah. and Right Turn Clyde. Always remember that, too, as
well. Right
Turn,
yeah. Clyde the orangutan.
Yep.
He's in that movie as well. Anyway, they put the movie, and it got so much airplay from the soundtrack, from disc jockeys all over the country.
Uh-huh.
They were paying from the soundtrack that Warner Brothers put it out as a single in November of 1980. And 1981, April the 11th, it went number one, and that's when I drove into Nashville.
I was going to say, it's hard to believe. That's 40. Does it hit you when you realize it was 40 years ago?
I don't know what happened. 40 years just slid right on by, and I've been all over the world, and I'm still here. Pretty amazing stuff. And now, because we're celebrating 40 years, me and a young lady, Mary Sarah. Boy, what a talented young lady this girl is. And I heard her singing, was doing a show about a year ago now, I guess it was. And the pandemic was just getting ready to hit, and everything was closing down and all that. But I heard this young lady singing, and I was going to do this pop. I think it was the last show, about a year ago, and I heard this young lady singing, and I walked out to the bandstand. This young lady was singing. She looked incredible, and she came off the stage, and I just hugged her, and I said, "You and I got to sing something together. You're just, we got to do something together." So we went and actually recut it, did another version of "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma." We didn't take anything away from the first one, because then you don't want to do that. But we made another version of it, me and Mary Sarah singing it. And you got to hear that. If you haven't heard it yet, you got to hear that.
It's fantastic. I've heard it numerous times and like it. She truly knocks it out of the ballpark.
Oh, she really does. And she just got so much personality. And she puts all that personality into her voice, into her every day. Just she does. And I just can't wait to get out and maybe start doing some shows with her and travel around the country with her in that bus and do some great shows, because she can bring it to the stage, I guarantee you.
Well, folks, if the name Mary Sarah, if you're a fan of The Voice, she was on Team Blake, and I think made it to the top 5 before elimination. So she did, and a lot of what she did was all classic country songs, which was great. I mean, she didn't forget the roots of it.
You know what's so great though about the Oklahoma song is that when you listen to it, and we were going to redo it. I've sung it so many times in the last 40 years, you can imagine how many times I've sang that around the world. And but when you listen to that song, you never sing it the same way twice, basically. Because each time you hear it, it tells you how to sing it a different way.
Yeah.
If you listen to that song, it'll tell you how to sing it. But it really spoke to her that day when we recorded in the studio. We had some of the great musicians that Nashville's known for, a great producer in there. And when she came in and did her part on "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma," she brought all of that song was talking to her, because she just sang the fool out of it. When you hear it, you'll know it.
Have you had a chance to with Shelly West, who did the original with you? And I know it's been a little bit since you've seen Shelly, but I wonder what her take is on the song.
I don't know, but I'd like to find out.
Yeah.
But Shelly did, she just sang the fool out of it as well in the very beginning and everything. And I work with Shelly all over the world, and I've never seen a more talented person than she is, and I just love her completely. But she kind of retired here a few years back, but we wanted to celebrate that incredible song, and so somebody came up with the idea. Well, I think it was Mary Sarah's dad that came up with the idea of maybe redoing the song, and so we did, and it's just great. I'm awfully glad we did. It's a great song, and you'll get a chance to hear it now.
Yeah, it's great. Of course, we got it on the radio station as well. And hey, David, we appreciate it as always. Always look forward to catching up with you. If you ever need anything, let us know, and keep putting out some good stuff out there for us. We love to hear it.
I'm gonna keep doing that, pal. And thanks for having me with you, pal. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
And don't let the wife give you too much on the honeydew list there.
Oh, well, she's got one now. You know that.
Especially, was that honeydew list pretty good size during the pandemic?
Well, gosh, that pandemic, I can't get over that myself. I just, for the first time in my lifetime, I've ever been stopped from going out and singing for my friends, the country music fans, and all my other friends that do that same stuff that they do. We haven't been able to get out there and do that. I cannot believe it. And I kept praying that it would all end and we'd be able to get back out there. But it looks like it finally has.
That's a good
thing.
But
I'm awfully glad to start getting back in my bus and just get out there where I belong.
Well, let's catch up with you next time when you guys get the movie out there and get it out theaters and wherever you all put it, and we'll catch up then. Looking forward to it.
Man, I hope we're able to go to one of the premieres together. You need to come and go with me for one of those premieres.
I'll come down
when we get ready to happen.
I'll come down to Nashville with you. How about that?
Hey, that'll work, buddy. Thanks a lot for having me on.
David Frizzell, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you for everything.
Bye-bye now.
There you have it, folks. The great David Frizzell. Now, the other side of things on the 40th anniversary for You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, it is the new version of the song featuring Mary Sarah. Now, let's find out a little more from Mary Sarah on how her and David Frizzell were able to get together to record this 40th anniversary song. Here's Mary Sarah on our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. Big Buck Country 101.5, and of course our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast continuing on. We caught up with David Frizzell a little while ago talking about the 40th anniversary of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. The other voice on that new version of the single is the beautiful Mary Sarah. How are you?
Hello, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to catch up with you. And before we talk about the song, congratulations on the new baby girl.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. She is quite a spitfire already. So she's been the best. I don't know if you got to meet her. I know we got to meet for the first time at WSM Studios, so that was pretty cool.
I did see her. She was absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful girl.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
For folks on the name Mary Sarah, obviously got going on The Voice. I mean, that was the thing. I remember seeing you on The Voice. I was cheering you on The Voice. You made it to top 5, which was great. But the thing I love the fact that you didn't kind of forget your love and the passion of classic country music. That was a lot of the artist stuff you did.
You know what? And I really thank you for that, first off, that you noticed that, because it is a big part of who I am. I grew up singing classic country. So, when you go on a show like that, I always, anybody who asks for advice or anything, I always say, hey, know who you are before you go on there, because it means a lot as far as, the kinds of songs you do. And so it really, it was a priority for me to make sure I kept to my traditional roots in that show, and kind of, I guess, bridging the generations, and like we're doing with this for younger folks my age to, get to hear some of this music for the first time.
And also, too, I think, because even you did a classic song on your audition that got you 4 chairs.
I did. Where the Boys Are. It is my favorite song to sing even now. It's one of those songs that has been such a door opener in my life. I actually, the first time it opened a pretty big door was when I was actually 15 years old. I got to sing with the Oak Ridge Boys on stage with them, and I sang Where the Boys Are a cappella. And that actually led to an entire duets record so that I ended up doing called Bridges, and so that song means a lot to me.
That's awesome indeed to be up there with the Oak Ridge Boys. I just talked to them not too long ago. They got, the thing about it, they're still going strong. They got a new album out. It's a combination of gospel music and classic country music, and it sounds great.
Yeah. They're amazing as far as being just extremely talented, but as well as people. They are, I call them my uncles in the industry, because they're just a call away for me and always giving me advice on things when I need it. And so I really, they are just incredible. I find that, a lot of legends in country music, they have a passion for helping younger artists. Doing the record that I did, Bridges, with Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson and all those legends, they signed on to that album without even being paid, nothing. Like they just wanted to help, and so it was really incredible. So I just find that a lot, even with David. He's come on and just been such a great mentor, and it's been really, really awesome.
We'll jump in that song here in just a minute, but the one question I did want to ask you on that, and you talked about Willie and Dolly and everybody else, and David Frizzell, obviously you're working with now too. In your class, the background of you with the love of the classic country sound, is it hard? Is it harder, I guess, with Nashville, did not have conformed to that newer, poppier country sound? I mean, I take Mo Pitney as an example. Mo is a great artist. I love his work that he does, and he has stuck to that classic sound and continuing to put music out there.
Hang on, you broke up for just a second. Could you repeat that last part?
I was going to say, I'll take an artist like Mo Pitney, who Mo's a great artist, great guy, and he has, like you, has that passion for that classic, that traditional country sound, and is still able to make it work in a Nashville that's trying to get real on the pop side of things.
Yeah, when I moved to Nashville when I was 17 years old, and I will say I've kind of gone like through. I don't know if saying like through the ringer is the right phrase for that, but I've been there and done that, and I feel like I have felt a little bit of that pressure for sure to conform, because there are so many artists here, and a lot of the times you can allow that fear of going, well, if so and so decides to do it, like what if they, they'll do it, so why shouldn't I? Or there's a lot of different things here in this town, and it comes back to knowing who you are and surrounding yourself with people who know who you are too, to hold you accountable to that. It's so easy to lose yourself in this city. And so I'm really thankful for the family that I have around me and the people that the Lord has just placed in my life to mentor me. Because I think, I don't know if I would be as well off as I am, honestly, without those people around me. It's a team effort, for sure.
Mary Sarah's hanging out with us here a little bit. And, of course, we're going to talk about the 40th anniversary of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. She did with David Frizzell. What was it like the first time you walked out on that Opry stage and stepped in that circle? What's that feeling like? Because I'm not an artist like that. I will never know. My dream is to hopefully Bill Cody will let me go up with him on the podium and do something from up there one time. But you would be so great at
that. You would be so great at that.
But to step in that circle, though, I can only imagine the goosebumps.
You know what? That experience, I felt like when I got to do that for the first time, and I feel like probably a lot of artists say this, but like I was like, okay, I've accomplished what I wanted to in life. But really, standing in that circle and understanding the history, and diving more into the history, I guess my path that I've been on has allowed me to do a lot more research and understand the impact of the Opry itself. And my mom always taught me to kind of go back and understand your roots and where things come from. And so, when I got to go out there for the first time, I was thinking about that all. And it was nerve wracking, but like the best kind of nerves you could possibly have. It was just it was excitement. And I like prayed beforehand, and I was like, I pretty much said, Lord, if Patsy Cline is listening to me up there, tell her to sing through me. Tell her to sing through me tonight, because it was incredible, and I'm so thankful to have been able to do it and continue to do it. And David and I are hoping maybe we can do a little debut of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, our rendition of it on there. So,
well, let's talk about that a little bit. And David has a great story about the fact that you were performing on the same show that he was, and heard your voice, and had to go off and walked off stage there and watched you and waited till you came off and gave you a hug, said, we got to record something together. That's pretty cool.
It was so unexpected. He was literally standing, I kid you not, right at the bottom of the stairs next to the stage. So he was the first person I saw coming off after singing 2 songs. And he wrapped me in a hug, and he just said, girl, we have got to do something together. And, a little like backstory for me, that I grew up with classic country. And so growing up in Texas, first off, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I get to claim, or at least my dad tells me all the time, that I'm the reason God made Oklahoma. But my dad and I actually would sing that song since I was like 8 or 9 years old. So if there's Where the Boys Are is one of the staple songs for me. But if I were to choose another song that I know like the back of my hand, it's You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. Wow. So it's pretty incredible how things have just come full circle with this song and getting to work with David, and I just, being in the right place at the right time. And so after getting off the stage and David telling me he wanted to work with me, I ran to my dad and I just said, you're not going to believe this, but David Frizzell just said he wants to work with me. And what my dad, being the country jukebox that he is, literally responds to me and he goes, you do know the 40th anniversary, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma's coming up. What if you guys did like a remake to pay tribute? And, you never know until you ask, is what I've always been taught. So we asked David and his team, and they were so excited about it. And it just has naturally come together, and we've had such a fun time getting to do the things we've gotten to do with this song. And David's been able to do some incredible things, and I'm just very lucky to be a part of this song now, and kind of, I guess in a way, allow it to do incredible things in my career too, just like it has for Shelly and David. So it's been pretty amazing. And David himself and his wife Joanne, they are just the sweetest people. And so I always love getting to work with not only talented people, but people who have great character and are kind and loving, and that's exactly who they are. So it's been really such a pleasure.
Well, I know you have the respect and the passion for the classic sound of the traditional country, I don't like to call it, but Shelly West knocked it out of the park back 40 years ago. And I think you did the same thing as well. I know if and I asked David about it, if he had a chance for Shelly to hear the song, and he hadn't had a chance to talk to her yet. So I can only imagine that she'd probably have a smile on her face when she hears you sing it.
I really am hoping so. I can only hope that, it was a little bit of pressure, thinking about it, going into the studio, I've got to, I've got to be myself, but I also have to pay respect to Shelly and to David. And so I wanted to really capture the essence of what she was able to do, but as well as put my own little spin on it. And so I hope so, wherever she's at right now. I hope, when she hears it, she's proud.
Well, all right, before we let you go, Mary Sarah, what other things you have going on? And obviously you got the big song with David Frizzell, and your new mom, so I know you're staying busy with that. So what's the future holding out for you?
Well, I'm just picking up on shows here now that things are opening up. So we're starting off with a show in Texas. In Tomball, Texas on the 17th of July here. That'll be my first time getting back on the stage, especially since the craziness of COVID. So I'm very excited about that, just to get to see the fans again and be back on. I love performing. It's a big part of what I do and my love for music. So getting back to that and booking more dates and everything. And then I'm currently working on some new music. So hopefully we'll get that out to you. And then, David and I are actually talking about getting some dates together to sing the song, hopefully on tour. So we're working on that. And as soon as we know, we'll get that out to everybody and have them hopefully join us and sing along to the song with us.
Well, I know, and I got to imagine the emotions that are going to come over you the first time when you do that show in mid-July and you walk off and your baby girl is there for you.
I know. I'm going to try to. Hopefully she's in good spirits, but I'm going to try to pull her up on stage.
Get her early in the business, huh?
Yeah. Well, what's really funny is she has been, so when we recorded You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, I was actually 7 months pregnant. And so she was in the belly when we recorded it. Then she got to meet David when we filmed a little acoustic video of it. And so actually what's really funny is he's actually gotten to see Evelyn, my little girl, more than probably most of my family has, which is pretty crazy. But so she's been a part of so many things, and so I can't wait I try to get pictures just so one day we can look back and I go, look at this, you were here and you were doing this at this age. And so hopefully when the show comes in July, I know there's a lot of my fans that are actually wanting to meet her too. So
that's awesome.
It's very, very exciting. So.
Hey, Mary Sarah, we appreciate it. Congratulations on the single. It's awesome. I tell you and David did a great job with it, and looking forward to hearing more stuff from you. And I love the fact you're keeping true to the roots for you. That's awesome. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm trying, and I just so appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
And enjoy the new baby.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's Mary Sarah, her and David Frizzell together on the 40th anniversary edition of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. Thanks for checking in on another edition of our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. Don't forget, let us know if you got any comments or anything. You can go to our Facebook page or our website at bigbuck1015.com. And thank you for subscribing and telling your friends about our Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast. God's blessings. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, son, the party's over.
You've been listening to your Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast.
Thank you for checking us out. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast.
Okay, I need to tell you two things.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at studio@bigbuck1015.com or find us online at bigbuck1015.com.
The Big Buck Legends one-on-one podcast has been a production of Kindred Digital, Toy Production Services, and your home for the legends.
Big Buck Country 1015.